That now brings us to item J, which is a resolution affirming full confidence in the appointment and employment of the city manager and the city clerk, to authorize the city attorney to take certain legal action to support this resolution, and to establish clear and permanent limits on the authority delegated by the city council to the office of the mayor under the powers reserved to the city council under the city charter, to take such action and prepare such amendments as are necessary to confirm the terms of the charter to the provisions of the Code of Ordinances, and to provide such emergency financial powers as are necessary to confirm the authority of the city manager to issue checks and administer the financial affairs of the city under this signature, so that expenses incurred by the city may be paid on a timely basis. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Witz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Emmanuel. Further discussion?
Mr. Powell?
City Council, as you know, this resolution has come before you really at my request based on the difficulties of the weekend and the emergency situation that was created, first of all, by the issue of whether or not checks could be issued by the city and under what authority they would be issued. With that, I would just like to read to you the provisions of the resolution. And if there are questions as I go through it, give you the opportunity to ask questions concerning those items.
Mr. Powell, I don't believe that's necessary. This is discussion, and technically you're not a member of council to have this discussion. If there's something that council has a question about, if they want to ask you that for clarification, but this is discussion on a motion up for a vote by council.
Mr. Powell, I would like to have the resolution read into the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Witz. It says, whereas, and let me say, just from, I'm not disobeying the mayor's instruction, but a resolution, the reading of it can be waived by the reading of the title to it. But if council insists, then you read the entire resolution. So that's probably.
Mr. Powell, then I'll read the resolution into the record as the chair of the meeting.
And the only thing I would request, it'd be fine, Your Honor, Mr. Mayor, is if you do that. But if there are questions concerning it, I'll be glad to answer those questions.
That's what I previously stated, so if you'll have a seat, please, sir. Whereas the City Council for the City of Snellville wishes to clarify the meaning of the city charter as it pertains to the above written issues, whereas the city charter is clear and unambiguous in section 3.14E, the city manager serves at the pleasure of the City Council, and specifically requires the city manager shall serve at the pleasure of the mayor and City Council, and may be suspended or removed by a vote of 4 members of the council. Whereas the City Council has not voted to remove or terminate the current city manager, who was duly appointed by the current mayor in 2012 by this resolution, affirms the appointment and employment of James Butch Sanders to serve as city manager. Whereas the city charter was amended in 2013 by Home Rule 2013-04 to provide in section 5.16C that all appointed officers, including the city attorney and city clerk, shall serve at the pleasure of the mayor and city council, and may be suspended, terminated, or removed by a vote of 4 members of the city council. And further providing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this amendment are hereby repealed. Whereas Mayor Kelly Couts has sued all the other members of the City Council in Superior Court, Gwinnett County, to challenge the authority of the City Council to approve Home Rule amendments, but as of this date of this resolution has lost her argument concerning her ability to fire the city attorney, which is legally identical to her current attempt to fire the city manager and city clerk. That's actually, well, whereas the City Council has not voted to remove or terminate the employment of the current city clerk Melissa Arnold, who was duly appointed in July 27, 2009, but then Mayor Jerry Oberholzer, and by this resolution, the current City Council affirms the appointment and employment of Melissa Arnold as the clerk of the City of Snellville. Whereas Section 5.16 of the City Charter only provides for the removal of appointed officers for cause, and only by 3 methods: by the decision of an impartial panel in a manner provided by ordinance passed by the City Council, by order of the Superior Court of Gwinnett County following a hearing on complaint seeking such removal brought by any resident in the city of Snellville, and by a vote of 4 members of the mayor and council. Whereas the city manager, the city clerk, and the city attorney are all named as appointed officers in the charter. Whereas during the last 10 days, Kelly Cowles has taken the following ill-considered, unusual, harmful, irrational, and unjustified actions: attempted to terminate the city manager without cause, attempted to terminate the city clerk without cause, attempted to appoint Phyllis Moreland Richardson to the position of city clerk, even when fully informed of the Superior Court ruling on this subject and knowing the position is currently held by Melissa Arnold. Informed the city manager she was going to assert veto authority over every check issued by the city of Snellville based on the fact that her electronic signature was on the checks, and therefore she had the right to review and withhold any and all checks issued by the city in the ordinary course of business. Whereas all of these unauthorized actions have devastated the morale of the officers, department heads, and employees of the city, interfered with the conducting of city business, left the administration of the affairs of the government in total confusion. It is hereby resolved appointment and employment of James Butch Sanders as city manager and Melissa Arnold as city clerk of the city of Snellville, Georgia, are officially affirmed by the city council. It is hereby resolved that the city attorney is authorized to amend the city's pleadings in the pending Superior Court litigation filed by Kelly Cowles to seek such emergency injunctive relief and other remedies as are necessary to keep the city operating in a normal fashion as possible, and to defend the positions and interests of the city manager and city clerk, included but not limited to a declaration that the meaning of 5.16 of the city charter as amended does not allow the mayor to unilaterally fire either appointed officer. It is further resolved that Mr. Powell may proceed as city attorney to investigate and seek other professional advice, including but not limited to Georgia Municipal Association and Carl Vinson Institute of Government, and analysis as he decides is necessary to determine if the harmful and unusual activities and attempted actions of Kelly Cowles authorize the city council to find she is subject to removal from her position under section 2-172 of the Code of Ordinances of the city, or section 2.28 of the city charter. The city attorney is also officially authorized to report these harmful and unusual activities to other responsible governmental agencies, included but not limited to the office of the governor of the state of Georgia. It is further resolved, effective immediately, the city manager is hereby authorized to change the signature authority and signature cards for all bank accounts of the city of Snellville, to provide for dual execution by facsimile signature bearing the names of the city manager and city clerk treasurer. The city attorney is hereby authorized to prepare for first reading and final approval on ordinance under section 2-411 of the city of Snellville Code of Ordinances, setting forth the authority of the city manager to administer the fund balances of the city of Snellville consistent with the city charter, including confirming that the following individuals have authority to receive payments and handle cash transactions on behalf of the city: administration, Melissa Arnold, Karen McKay, Gail Fracker, Candace Pullman; court, Gloria Croswell, Barbara Miller, Kim Grimes; planning, Neely Wilson, Marlene Temple; police, Tina Chisholm, Maureen Lee, Jerry Armour, Linda Nixon; park, Debbie Pruitt, Matt Wright, Lisa Platt, Danny Benjamin, Jimmy Dallas; senior center, Kathy Gargrillo, Leslie Pender, Wayne Sanders; public works, Tracy Glass, Kathy Bass. The conduct of all the above referenced individuals shall be insured by the fidelity bond of the city and subject to the financial controls established by the city auditor and the city manager for reporting expenditures for the oversight of the city council. It is further resolved the financial control ordinance shall also be drafted to require the financial statements, including fund balance sheets, income statements, and budget comparison reports, shall be made available to the mayor and council within 45 days of the closing of each month. It's further resolved the public fund report, income statement, and budget comparison report shall be delivered to the public as part of the city manager's report on a semi-annual basis. It's further resolved all the financial functions of the city as outlined in this resolution fall within the authority of the city manager. The mayor has no delegated authority in this area from the city council. The extent that the mayor has been given any discretionary authority in the current budget, such authority is hereby revoked, and city manager shall immediately prepare such budget amendments as are necessary to enforce this instruction. It's further resolved that the city attorney is directed to advertise the city council intends to take official action on the salary and benefits of the mayor as required by the Georgia Code. This action to be placed on the council agenda as soon as advertising requirements are met. It's further resolved that the term of the charter of the city of Snellville, which describes the mayor as the chief executive officer, means only she chairs the meetings of the city council and reports any instructions of the city council to the city manager. The city manager holds all administrative authority over the employees, officers, and directors of the departments. Except as expressly granted in writing in the future, all authority previously delegated is hereby revoked, and the city attorney is directed to prepare such resolutions or ordinances as are necessary to implement this finding. Are there any questions over the resolution as it was just read?
I think that's well done.
any questions of the council? Further statements of the council? I have a few things to say. This ordinance that was just read is several pages long and was handed to us as we walked into our council meeting tonight. It was not on an agenda, and as you heard us read into the record, it basically abolishes the office of mayor. It takes away the authority of the mayor to be the chief executive officer of the city, takes away the authority of the mayor to sign documents, to write checks, and it even attempts to take away the salary, or it says that the council plans on taking away the salary of the mayor. This is what has become behavior par for the course from this council for the past few months. I know that there's been a lot of confusion over the last weekend, the last few days, over what's happening in this city, and I'd like to clarify a few things now. First and foremost, I did not attempt to fire or terminate Ms. Melissa Arnold from her employment with the city of Snellville. The charter, as it currently reads, says, the charter, which is the constitution of our city, says that the mayor shall appoint a city clerk. The laws of Snellville further state that the city clerk shall serve a one-year term of office and that the appointment shall be made at the beginning of each year. Last week, Ms. Arnold's term as city clerk expired, and I, as mayor, did not what's in my discretion, but what's mandated by the word shall in the charter. I appointed a city clerk and Phyllis Richardson. Ms. Richardson's here today. She's in the front row. Ms. Richardson, if you'd like to stand up. I'd like to thank both Ms. Richardson and Ms. Arnold for being here today and apologize for what's been created by this situation. This was not a surprise action that I took. I actually informed Butch Sanders on December 3rd that I was looking into making a change in the position of city manager, and I met with him again last Friday before I took any official action. My appointment of Ms. Richardson as a city clerk was not meant to degrade Ms. Arnold. Ms. Arnold is actually a wonderful person and is a dedicated city employee. When Ms. Arnold was first hired, she was purchasing agent for the city of Snellville, and she gradually took over more responsibilities as we needed them. She took over our court system, and when we had a vacancy, by default, she became city clerk. Ms. Arnold, during this period of time as city clerk, has worn many hats, and as our city has grown and the demands of council have grown, and as new state laws have taken effect requiring city clerks to do more things, it became apparent to me that a city the size of Snellville needs someone full-time dedicated to the position of city clerk. I met Ms. Richardson through New Jerusalem Baptist Church, and she was an experienced city clerk, a deputy city clerk with the city of Miami, who was looking for employment. To me, it was a win-win situation for the city of Snellville. Ms. Arnold would continue in her employment with the city of Snellville in her original function as purchasing agent and as court clerk of our municipal court system, and Ms. Richardson would join us as an experienced city clerk as a full-time city clerk for the city of Snellville. Due to retirements of other personnel, this was a transition we could make without affecting the city's budget or any expenditures in the administration department. This was a win-win situation because we would have two fabulous women working for the benefit of our city. Unfortunately, over the past few days, instead of looking at the resume of Ms. Richardson, this council has just said, no, we don't want her. They haven't said a single reason as to why Ms. Richardson would not be appropriate for this job. The response has just been no. In fact, on Friday, when I swore Ms. Richardson into office and gave her the oath, Pastor Collins, her pastor, attended, and Councilman Howard, on the phone, picked up the phone to pretend as if he was making a phone call, turned his back to both Ms. Richardson and the pastor, and refused to acknowledge their presence. This was an embarrassment and disrespectful of this council, but it's the type of behavior that has become normal. Friday evening, after we had this situation, I went upstairs. Ms. McKay typically leaves documents that require the mayor's signature because the charter says everything in writing, including checks, have to be signed as the mayor, as chief executive officer of the city. When I went upstairs to check and see what happened, I walked in to Butch Sanders, Melissa Arnold, Bobby Howard, Councilman Howard, Councilwoman Diane Krause, Councilman Tom Witz, and Councilman Dave Emanuel meeting in Butch Sanders' office. This was a meeting of more than a quorum of the council. This was an unadvertised meeting and a meeting which the mayor was not notified of. When I attempted to take a picture, they shut the door on my face. Following that meeting, I was informed that my access card to the second floor of City Hall, where staff offices are located, had been turned off. And as mayor, I now had to ask for permission to enter the second floor of City Hall. This morning, when Ms. Richardson showed up for work, doing her job and trying to fulfill her duties as city clerk, she was locked out of the city clerk's office. There, waiting for her, was Tony Powell, Butch Sanders, Councilwoman Diane Krause, and Councilman Bobby Howard. Upon their instructions, she was not allowed to have the city seal. She was not allowed to have access to city records, and she was told that it would be best for her to leave. Ms. Richardson has done nothing wrong. In fact, she's a highly qualified individual, and if this council would have put aside their hatred and look at the facts, they would see this is in the best interest of the city. It was never my intention to cause Ms. Arnold any embarrassment for this. It was my intention to sit down and talk to her before any action was taken. However, Mr. Sanders unfortunately went to her office and informed her of the situation before I had an opportunity to sit down and speak to her myself. And Ms. Arnold, for that, I apologize. This council thinks by this resolution tonight, they will stop me and they will stop my supporters. This is not the first time they have tried to do something. 10 days ago, or actually I guess it's been a month ago now, you'll remember that they attempted to give Butch Sanders a $20,000 raise after it was not on the agenda and it was not published for public input and it was not budgeted for. So there's a history here, and every time council tries to do something wrong, they want to blame the big bad mayor, because I want to stand up against what council is trying to do, against these bullies. Just because there's a majority of council doesn't mean that elected officials don't have to follow the law. We have a charter, and just as you as citizens have to follow the charter, so too do elected officials. So despite the fact that they may take away the $400, the whole $400 I make a month as mayor, I will continue in my pursuit to do what is right for this city. I ask you all, unfortunately, I don't have the power. I'm not a blogger. I don't sit and blog, and unfortunately, only bad things are what makes the press, and sometimes the whole story doesn't make it out there. So I encourage you each to continue to attend our council meetings, to stay informed of what's happening, and to keep these members of council accountable as they try to bully their way forward with the actions that they are taking. With that, I will call this resolution for a vote. All those in favor signify by
Mayor,
raising
I'd
your
like
right
to
hand.
further discussion, Mayor.
You said you had no comments.
It's a discussion. It's a further discussion. You made some
Go.
allegations there that need to be responded to, and I would like to ask the city mayor a couple of questions. First of all,
He's not the mayor.
excuse
but
me, city attorney. I apologize.
He may act like it sometimes, but he's
Okay.
not the mayor.
First of all, Mr. Powell, what we just heard about the mayor and the responsibilities, authorities of the mayor, could you address that, please? How much of that was actual
There is, this group does not have the authority to abolish the position of mayor. It does not have the authority to change the power provisions that are listed in the charter itself. And so those are locked in by legislative mandate. So that statement they're abolishing the position of the mayor is simply not true. Your resolution with regard to the issues of Ms. Richardson, I just personally want to thank Ms. Richardson for her kindness in dealing with me today. When you're in a position, and frankly Mr. Dahm too, who represents her as her attorney, when you're in a position where a city is in total disarray, which is where we are with these actions going on, there has to be a resolution that we get to that gets us at least to where we can do business, and this resolution does that. It's a minimal intrusion into that process so that checks can be paid. There are a lot of legal issues involved in the firing of the city manager. The mayor wants to take the position that she's not terminating Mrs. Arnold. The charter provisions don't read that way. The ruling of the Superior Court with regard to my position as city attorney when I was terminated by the mayor is really a precedent to the same authority that the mayor is asserting in this case, and the court's already ruled. So there are rights that Ms. Arnold has. It really isn't about Ms. Richardson. It's really about Ms. Arnold, who holds that position now. She did not surrender it, nor did the council terminate her. And therefore, as lawyer for the city, I have grave concerns over those actions and keeping an even keel. For that, I'm grateful for Ms. Richardson's calmness in this situation. I do have authority under the resolution to move to court so that the issues where the mayor disagrees with the city council can be resolved in an even keeled and easy way. Discrimination is not a factor in that case, nor is it a factor in the decision making that's going on with regard to this. These are legal issues that really are city liability issues and city interest and city government continuing on an even keel. There will be an extremely fair hearing of all the issues where the mayor said certain things, and I frankly disagree with those things. We have a great system that we pledged allegiance to tonight that will resolve those issues fairly and without disrupting city operations, without disrupting employees, and so there are a number of things that I disagree with regarding those conclusions, but we will have the opportunity to work through that with an independent arbiter.
And do we have any intention of removing the mayor's salary?
No one has given me that instruction, no.
No one's given that. The only thing, here's what's unfortunate to me. 2 weeks ago, when the city manager was fired, I came to bat and stood up for the city manager. Last Friday, when the city clerk was terminated, I came and went to bat for the city clerk because I don't believe that the removal by the mayor is authorized. I believe that it takes a majority of council. It's unfortunate that Mayor Kaus has decided to make this about Ms. Richardson. It certainly isn't. It's not about Ms. Richardson. It's about the mayor's authority to remove appointed officials of this city. I did not go along with it when she did it to Mr. Sanders, and I didn't go along with it when it came to Ms. Arnold. This is all about these two people and what they do for the city and whether the mayor has the right to terminate or not terminate. That's where it ends for me. There's only one thing that I despise more than a racist is a race baiter. I'm sorry. I'm not a racist.
Councilman Witz, I don't believe I mentioned one thing about Ms. Richardson's race. I do want to clarify one thing. Everyone wants to keep throwing around the terms fired and terminated. Just like I'm an elected official and I have a term of office, although they're not elected, the city clerk has a term of office for 1 year. The city manager has a term of office for 16 months. Those terms came to an end. There was no firing, there was no termination. It was an end of a term, which makes a huge difference.
Mr. Powell, can I ask you if you agree with the mayor saying, what is the city's position as the city attorney? What is your advice on what the mayor just said about terms?
My position is that with regard, the city charter is clear that the city clerk serves at the pleasure of the council. It's not for a specific term. The provision the mayor is really relying on is a code section that really says this. It says that the city clerk treasurer shall hold office for 1 year and shall be an employee at will, subject to the removal and suspension at any time by the mayor and council unless otherwise provided by law or ordinance, or until his successor is appointed or qualified. Now, the code section before that says the mayor and city council shall at the beginning of each year appoint a city clerk. Now, all of those provisions were superseded by charter changes that occurred. They no longer exist. There's a repeal of provision in the city charter. And one thing is true. The mayor has the exclusive authority to appoint a city clerk. The question was presented to the Superior Court. Does that give her the right to be the sole person to terminate? And it was done in the exact same context in the provision with regard to the city attorney, and the court ruled no. And so I do disagree. The appointment procedure in here would be an annual one based on the date of appointment, and Ms. Arnold's term would not be up until the 26th of July, even if you interpreted this provision to be applicable. And it certainly is. It's certainly my position and my recommendation to the City Council that that's not, those provisions do not apply. And for that reason, it wasn't a matter of the office was vacant. The office was filled by Ms. Arnold. In order to place Ms. Richardson in the office, Ms. Arnold had to be terminated, and that was not done. And so for that reason, it really hadn't got anything to do with Ms. Richardson. It is simply that Ms. Arnold fills that position, and it is not open.
Mr. Powell will have to agree to disagree even as to the appointment date of Ms. Arnold. Is there any additional comment of the council? Call the question. All those in favor of the resolution as stated signify by raising your right hand. That's 5 in favor. All those opposed, that's 1 opposed. The resolution carries. That now brings us to our council reports.